analytics glasses for all those nerds out there.
But Thomas Bryant's jockstrap, get him out of here!
How does that not indicate to you, like, hey, sometimes, like, these prospects are awesome?
Now, get back. They snatched that chain, boy. Get back. What y'all gonna do about it? Popeye snatched that chain. Get back. We want that snack wrap. They got 3 flavors. Y'all got 1. Get back.
Hey, everybody. Welcome into the Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. No, as you can see, we are not at our usual studios located at Burke Lakefront Airport, but instead we are live on a beautiful Saturday afternoon at the Lakewood Truck Park located here in, of course, Lakewood. Guys, this is a home game for myself. A little bit for you, Jack, not so much you and Nick, but this is a home game right in my backyard. We were here a year ago, and it was absolutely incredible for Guardians baseball. And we're going to see if the Guardians have enough in the tank tonight to clinch it, possibly if they can win and Detroit can lose. But nonetheless, it's looking bright for our Guardians. We have a ton of college football talk, guys. Ohio State, of course, takes on Washington. This is the closest thing we've had to the Week 1 slate of opening college football this season. Week 2, Week 3, Week 4, a little bit of a dud. You had a couple interesting games in there, but today is where things get shaken up, and today is a great slate of games. I feel bad for those at weddings, at events where you don't have TVs around you, because that should be a crime, because today is a must-watch day of college football.
Ryan, this to me, like today, is channeling the vibes of when we were out at Lakewood Truck Park last year with the Guardians postseason. Obviously, the Guardians have an opportunity to clinch the MLB postseason today. Who would have thought that? I
Jack
think back,
would've,
like,
right?
dude, when
I was all over it.
When we were up here last year, like, think of all the memories we had with the big Christmas home run and Lane Thomas home run. Like, the Lakewood Truck Park has been very good to us in terms of sports memories. So hopefully we could bring some of those good vibes back here today for the Buckeyes at 3:30, for the Guardians later this evening, as it is a packed day of sports here in Northeast Ohio.
Well, we'll get to the Buckeyes game. We'll get to the whole college football slate, but we have to talk about our Cleveland Guardians. Speaking of memories, a memorable collapse for Detroit this season, 15 and a half games back. At one point, that's the largest division collapse we've ever seen in Major League Baseball history. Previous was 15. Jack, it's just absurd every time we sit here and think about how close this team is to clinching the playoffs. Not only a chance at the wild card, but a chance to win the AL Central. I believe percentage-wise, ESPN gives it about a 96. Now take that for what you will. At one point, they gave the Guardians a 0.0 chance to make the playoffs. So if that says anything, it might not be too accurate, but the fact that the Guardians can not only clinch a playoff spot, but clinch the AL Central tonight, should they beat the Texas Rangers and should Detroit lose to Boston, who did clinch a playoff spot last night.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all massive Angels and Red Sox fans right now. That's really the vibe of the weekend. You know, didn't get off to the hot start last night that you wanted to. Dropped that last one against the Tigers a couple days ago with Messick on the mound. But, hey, you got Joey Cantillo on the mound. He's been your hottest pitcher since August 1st by ERA. He's a guy who's been absolutely spinning the ball recently. One of the best changeups, if not the best in baseball by whiff rate. Like, you got your guy on the mound tonight, go get it done. Because the thing the Tigers didn't do, take one of their 2,000 chances to close out the Guardians.
Jack, I want to know, man, what's something we can do?
What you want to know?
What can we do to get out ahead, man? You know, the Guardians have been off to a couple slow starts recently, and I want to see what they could do tonight, man. What do they need to change to get it early on, a good start, and to just finally clinch this playoff spot?
Yeah, I think it gets started all with Steven Kwan. I mean, that's the easy answer. Yeah. You could always say Jose Ramirez, but when you get your first guy out of the game, that's when you really get things going, get things in motion. And, you know, when Steven Kwan is going, this lineup has a second heartbeat outside of Jose Ramirez. Because, you know, Kyle Manzardo, great bat, a lot of power, not always like the contact guy you're looking for. Like, when you truly have Steven Kwan going, like, you can really start to see this offense run.
And you can't have both of those guys slumping at once. That's what we've seen over the last 2 games is Kwan and Jose aren't hitting and the Guardians aren't scoring. So it seems super simple, and it is that simple. Like, those are your best players. You need to get them on base. You got to get them over, and you got to get them in. And the Guardians should be focused on taking care of business tonight. You know, leave the scoreboard watching up to us. Go out there, beat them tonight, and then you're going to be in the postseason. I'm not worried about the rest of it.
A lot of you guys are really high on Joey Cantillo. What do you think about him as a pitcher? It just makes him that guy for the Guardians in this rotation.
And by the way, before you guys answer this, not only have both of you guys talked very highly of Joey Cantillo, but Guardians broadcaster, post-game, pre-game, Chris Jimenez, who's made a couple appearances on the Big Factor, he says, and I quote, has the nastiest stuff on this pitching staff. And looking how the Guardians have played the last month, that says a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Joey Cantillo is a guy who the biggest issue was always, would he ever get the walk rate down? Like, he was always throwing too many pitches early on. It's why starting off this season he was in the bullpen, not even in the starting rotation, because they didn't totally trust that what happened in New York in the playoffs last year wouldn't be a regular occurrence, that he couldn't get that walk rate down. He was awesome as the long reliever, kind of that Pedro Avila to start the year. The rotation got bad enough, as dumb as that sounds right now, to a point early in May when you had to send him down to AAA to stretch him out, and now he's back. And when he's commanding the strike zone, I think it's really been the fact that he's found that curveball as well, because it's one thing, he's always had that dominant changeup, right? But the reason Eli Morgan didn't last as a starter is Eli Morgan had his changeup and nothing else. So eventually they could just sit on that changeup and whack it all around the ball yard, right? So Joey Cantillo was able to develop another strikeout pitch with that curveball, and I think that was the biggest thing in his development.
I think the other piece of him, too, is just what's in between the ears. I think every time you go out there, you get that bulldog-type mentality, and when you're trying to clinch today, those guys are no dummies. They know what's on the line today, and I think it is only going to benefit them to have a dude that's a little bit nuts, like Joey Cantillo is, to go out there and go clinch this thing. Let's
gotta get it done. You can't lose today. If you lose today, then you don't want to be tomorrow to just matter at all.
Last game of the season type deal.
No, you don't. And Astros loss would.
And we've been playing baseball. And the nice piece about this is this team has been playing playoff baseball for weeks and weeks.
Yeah.
So it's nothing different than what you've done to erase that 15.5 game deficit. Just get the dub today. Clinch this thing today. Let's worry about football tomorrow. Let's not worry about baseball tomorrow.
Jack, we have the city of Detroit to thank a lot for a Guardians' potential playoff push. I mentioned the 15.5 game collapse. The Guardians, I said earlier, could clinch the AL Central tonight should they beat the Rangers, and Detroit beat the Red Sox. The only caveat on that is the Red Sox last night clinched a wild card spot. I haven't looked who's going for Boston. I'm not sure if you know, but obviously Boston potentially playing with essentially nothing on the line, if I'm not mistaken. Is there a wild card positioning that they'd still be playing for?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it nothing. It's definitely, if you want to get that 5 or 6 wild card, they can't punch up and take that 4 from either Toronto or the Yankees, depending on who doesn't win the AL East. But you want to be that 5 and not the 6, right? I think they probably like their chances better against Toronto than I don't know. Maybe they'll lose on purpose so they can play us. Who knows? That actually might be in play.
Is there? All right, I believe we are going to be welcoming soon a very special guest, Chris McNeil, of course, Reflog, part of the Big Play Cleveland show. I know he's excited for this Guardians push and for Ohio State's game. Before we dive into college football, guys, we talked a little bit yesterday about those games. We saw a massive, I don't know if I should say massive, it wasn't a crazy spread, but still nonetheless an upset. Virginia takes down Florida State. Florida State, obviously, one of the darlings of this season when you factor in how bad they were last year. And when I say bad, I'm not exaggerating. It's not a hyperbole. Mike Norvell and the Florida State Seminoles were bad. Complete retool year for them. They go hire Gus Malzahn. Tommy Castellanos, a Boston College transfer, has played tremendous. He was in the Heisman contention. Obviously, he'll take a little bit step back after his loss to Virginia. But I wanted to ask you guys more specifically about this. That was the most insane crowd rush I've ever seen. Obviously, we know in college football, it's a tradition. If you have a big upset at home, the fans storm. But the security has to do something, because his butt was on the turf for about 0.5 seconds. Next thing you know, you blink, it's a sea of red, and Squirrel White is missing.
I've never seen anything like that. And obviously, I've watched college football every single Saturday, really, as long as I can remember. That was the fastest field storming I've ever seen. And it was also one of the worst, choke jobs that I've seen out of Florida State. How do you lose that game? I was on FSU -6.5. We talked about that all day yesterday on the program. Vegas
we talked about it.
And
we deliberated.
For Virginia to win that game outright, I certainly didn't see that coming. But good on them, and ultimately good on the fans who were able to have quite the party there on the field right after the game.
Virginia obviously they played a very solid football game last night, and I think part of the reason that made the crowd rush, did you see how their stadium was set up? There was no seats, it was just space
you
behind.
Just jump right over.
Oh yeah, I get that.
And that's super dangerous for the players, because a Virginia receiver was on the ground too. Someone had to help him up. All of them got trampled as all these people rushed the field. You got to keep the players safe, or else you're not going to have a reason to rush the field. But, they just couldn't keep Castellanos clean last night in the pocket. He was just running around all game. And while granted, that's something he's very good at, you don't want to have him doing that as a defense. You want to have it on the offensive. And he was scrambling backwards all night. Last drive, throwing up a couple prayers, and Virginia was able to handle it. But the Florida State receiver got a great game. I forgot his name, but had a missed opportunity in the second overtime. Hits him in stride, bobbles it a couple times, gets it, but his toe is out of bounds.
It was clearly not a catch, and people were acting like it was controversial.
And he was still bobbling as he was going out of bounds, but got to come down with that, and maybe you got a chance to win the game. But
I'll also take a little bit of accountability because I was feeling really good
Thanks.
about FSU minus 6.5. I parlayed guards money line.
I appreciate that.
And
No.
FSU minus
Oh, no.
6.5, and both of those sold in the most dramatic fashion possible.
Can you please bet Rangers money line tonight?
Let's
It
go
is
Rangers
full
money
favorite
line
going
and
again.
Washington Huskies,
You
so
said
that way we
Manzo
can
was
have
bad.
that.
He went yard.
Yeah.
Speaking
Listen to
of
the big factor, confirmed.
the Squirrel White memes were aplenty on Twitter. And speaking of that, it's my pleasure to now welcome into the Big Factor remotely Chris McNeil, obviously goes by Reflog on the social media
You
streets.
can't hear us clapping.
Chris, I want to ask you this, start with this. First of all, Chris, do we got you here, dude?
That's quite an intro. Thank you, Ryan.
You got it, man. Before you can think you were listening to us a little bit in the background about Squirrel White. Is that correct?
No, I didn't hear that conversation. I kind of tuned in there when you were talking about rushing the field and everything that happened last night.
Are you hip to when Virginia's fans stormed the field? There's a Twitter video out there of Squirrel White, the receiver for Florida State in the end zone, get completely bombarded by Seminoles fans, and he essentially goes missing in a crowd.
See, I'm too old for this at this point. When I was back in college, I would have loved this. Now, I went to a MAC school. I went to Miami. Back then, we really weren't rushing the field for any reason whatsoever. We had no reason to do it. This was prior to Ben Roethlisberger, so those were some kind of lean years. We had Travis Prentice back in the day, so it felt pretty good. However, I did go to the Virginia Tech game where we upset Michael Vick.
Wow.
So that was on the
Oh,
road, so
wow.
obviously you're not going to go storming the field, but that's
Down
the
in Blacksburg.
closest I've been in a collegiate atmosphere to a huge upset, something where I felt like it would be appropriate for us to rush the field. And of course, being a roadie, I was like one of the few Miami of Ohio students who were there in attendance in Blacksburg. I'll never forget it, beating Michael Vick on the road, absolutely huge upset, but nowhere close to obviously getting down on their field. I would have probably gotten my ass kicked.
Chris, we were talking about memes, and obviously you're known for your memes. And I can't believe I've never asked you this, and I don't know this about you for how long I've known you. When did you realize you had a talent for memes? And this, in all seriousness, because I've seen people throw out horrible memes that don't even make sense. I know one name just popped into my head, front and center. I'm sure it did yours too. But Chris, the point is, do you remember your first meme or how you recognize this is fun and something that you can gain a ton of following for?
That's a great question. Back in my old life, I was in sales, and I'd kind of drive around, and I was going from customer to customer and listening to sports radio during the day. And it kind of struck me. I started seeing memes kind of getting traded out there on various social media, and I started putting some together, and they were awful. And, I've come a long way. I don't know. A lot of people would still say my memes are awful. But back then I was like, hey, if I just download this Photoshop, I could do this right on my phone. And I started kind of doing it while I was doing my calls, and that started the ball rolling. Back when I was a kid, and I haven't told this story very often, back when I was a kid, I was obviously a huge Browns fan, a huge Cleveland fan, as I am today. But in between weeks, I would always, all of my homework assignments, I would doodle in the margins. Like if we were playing the Falcons that week, I'd doodle something about a dog eating a falcon, very basic stuff, right? And I'm not an artist at all. I'm absolutely horrible. So if you were to even look at these things, you'd be like, what the hell was this? So thankfully, Photoshop came along years later and really saved me and allowed me to kind of get this stuff out there, because I have some creativity, but I have absolutely no talent when it comes to actually artistry. So I went through art classes and everything else. It's like, no, I was never any good at it. So I was able to, thankfully, thanks to Photoshop, thanks to social media, I was able to get it out there, whether for better or for worse, as people would say. But yeah, that's a little bit more about me that a lot of people I don't think even know.
All right, Chris, well, we're talking about our Cleveland Guardians before we dive into our Buckeyes talk.
Sure.
I just want to ask you straight up. Guardians a chance to clinch the AL Central tonight. We play the Rangers. Of course, Detroit plays the Red Sox. We talked about it, though. The Red Sox did clinch a playoff spot last night. Still a little playoff implications for them. Do the Guardians do the improbable and seal up the AL Central for 2 years in a row tonight?
Absolutely. We got to get it done today, gentlemen, and I think we will. Last night, boy, that was rough. I was at my kid's ball game, and I kind of had it on my phone, and I was watching it. Slade Ciccone did not look good. Obviously, the wheels fell off, and it's like, uh-oh, right? You have that feeling in the pit of your stomach. But this team is very resilient, as we know, guys. Being 15 and a half down back in August to where we're at right now, for whatever reason, maybe it's the fact that it's such a young group. Maybe it has something to do with Stephen Vogt. But this team will come back. And I have absolutely 100% or as close to 100% confidence as I can have in a Cleveland team that we're going to bounce back. And I think this team's going to do it. And I'm pretty excited about it. On top of that, we've got Boston right now that's out there partying last night. So I don't know if they're going to be focused. So we really cannot count on anything else. We need to take the ball and run with it. We need to get it done today.
Chris, I got a poll for you here. So I remember back in 2016, down the playoff stretch, you released a little song called Party at Napoli's, little takeoff of Breakfast at Tiffany's. Do you anticipate another song coming for this playoff run if the Guards can clinch tonight?
I talked about how bad I am at artistry. I'm even worse at singing. I mean, that thing.
You hit some notes in that, man.
That was awful. It took a lot of auto-tune to get that thing right. But
little T-Pain.
No, there will be no songs unless, Adobe Acrobat and some of those other things come out with something that could really mask my singing a lot better. I could probably write it for somebody else. We'll get somebody talented like Gab on there to go ahead and sing one of my songs. But I don't anticipate any songs coming out of the Reflog account anytime soon.
I think Gab has the national anthem today, right?
Oh, yeah. That's
a big event. Gab Cruz, if you're listening, best
good
of luck.
To Gab. We all got to wish Gab good luck. For all the fans out there, support her. She's going to be absolutely awesome. She's been talking about this for a month. She's talked about going around to various high schools to try and prep herself. She said on our show this week that she's a lot more confident than what she was before. I know she's going to kill it. She's absolutely great. What a singer. So look for her. Fan Fest tonight, fan appreciation out there at the stadium. I know it's going to be packed. Make sure you're out there supporting Gab.
Chris, that certainly isn't easy to go up there in front of all those people and sing a national anthem. Well, something that also isn't going to be easy is Ohio State traveling to Washington as they open up Big Ten play, getting a victory against the Huskies. I'll reference this stat a couple times in this show, but right now the Washington Huskies, 22 consecutive home wins since the start of the 2022 season. That ranks second behind Georgia, who holds that record. Chris, this isn't going to be easy. Quarterback Damon Williams poses a pretty interesting challenge, a guy that can get it done with both his arm and his legs, doesn't turn the ball over much. Big game for Julian Sayin, of course, his first true road start here with our Buckeyes. One, how are you feeling? Are they going to get the win? And are they going to cover, the more important part, because great teams cover? And if you're Julian Sayin, I guess I should say if you're Ryan Day, what's the game plan for Julian Sayin? He's talked about opening up the playbook, but again, this is a tough test on the road for the Buckeyes.
And Julian Sayin has been very good going downfield. I think he's like 9 for 9 on passes over like 30 yards or something like that. So look for him to open it up a little bit. But as far as my fear factor for this game, it's actually pretty low, surprisingly. I think right now, if you go on FanDuel, it's 8.5 points.
Yep.
I went ahead and I said Ohio State's going to cover today. I think it's going to be 10-plus points. I think we're going to come out there focused. Matt Patricia loses 8 starters off of this defense from last year, and we're even better than we were before. I mean, I think defense travels, and I know it's going to be a hostile environment up there in Seattle. I know what it's like to play there in Washington. I know that's going to be, we talked about people storming the field. They're going to be ready and waiting to do that today up there in Washington. All those fans are going to be riled up. It's going to be tough. It's Julian Sayin, his first real road test, but defense travels, and I think that's going to keep us on the defensive end. I think that's going to keep us in that ball game. And then offensively, look for Bo Jackson to start moving it a little bit, running the ball. We've been talking about it on my show. I love not only the name, I love the guy. I love the way he runs. I think look for a big game out of him. And then Julian Sayin also taking his shots downfield. So I think our offense could look good. Our defense is going to travel. So I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty confident, boys.
Chris, you hit on a lot of great points there as to why Ohio State is somebody who should be, you shouldn't be feeling too bad today, guys. I mean, they talk about the home winning streak for Washington, but Ohio State has won 19 in a row on the road against unranked opponents. And like Chris said, Julian Sayin on passes over 20 yards is the highest graded quarterback in college football right now. And I get it. He's on the road. It's going to be a test, but he's got the best defense in the country backing him up. You got Caleb Downs out there getting used in all types of creative ways by Matt Patricia, who I'm sure has got plenty schemed up for Williams, the quarterback of Washington. I would look for them to take his legs away out of this game and make him really beat him through the air.
Watch for Arvell Reese.
Mm-hmm.
Watch for that linebacker. He's going to be shadowing him all day long.
Him and Sonny Styles
quarterback. He's going to be all over it.
2 athletic linebackers that can chase down a mobile quarterback. They'll be all over him. I think Ohio State covers. I put that in our parlay of the week, guys, and I don't think Ohio State's have a reason to be worried, guys. I think they're going to take care of it, possibly by upwards of 15-plus points. I think they're really going to prove today why they're the best team in the country, and they are the team with the target target on their back.
Chris, I wanted to ask you as well, speaking of Julian Saying a second ago, I don't know if you caught it this week, but Rick Neuheisel got unfrozen from the carbonite. About 80 years old, came out to make one last statement, said that his former team, the Huskies, are going to take down Washington at home in Seattle. What is it with these former head coaches and coming at Ohio State before big games?
Well, we know the meme that's going to be coming out after this game, right? I'd like to know where Rick Neuheisel's at right now, a la Ryan Day.
One foot in the grave.
I mean, these basically write themselves at this point. But, yeah, and for some reason, I don't know what it is about Ryan Day. I don't know what it is about Ohio State. Maybe it's the fact that we're just so successful year in, year out. But these old coaches love to just dog Day, dog the program, dog everything we are. Hey, I understand being proud of what you've got, but you've also got to respect dominance. I mean, for as much as I hate Alabama and hated Alabama for years under Nick Saban, there was no doubt in my mind. Many of those years, they were no doubt the best in the country. Nick Saban was the best coach in the country. There's no doubt about it. You know, you look at Ohio State, and the first thing they want to do is dog us every single year and dog Ryan Day. And I'm not here to say Ryan Day is the best coach in the country right now, although he has a pretty darn good argument for it, right? But everybody else likes to come out, dog this program. And I think this is the type of game, gentlemen, here going into Washington, when you do have those naysayers out there to shut up a lot of people, cover that 8.5, look dominant, make this defense look like it has so far this year against lesser opponents. Make this offense show that Julian Saying himself is going to be able to take that next step. Show that this team, despite losing 8 seniors off that defense and so many seniors overall, is still a championship team that I believe it is. Like I said, I keep saying we're going to repeat this year. I think this is another step in it today.
Chris, on this run to repeat as national champions, you're obviously going to have to get through a bulk of Big Ten teams and a lot of teams that are better than Washington, and so many bright college football minds saying that this Washington game isn't going to be a cakewalk for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Talk to me a little bit about the rest of this schedule and who you think is going to be the most difficult opponent, especially in the Big Ten for Ohio State as they try to get back to the college football playoff and ultimately to defend this national championship.
I mean, when you talk about Ohio State and every single year, the first thing I'm going to look at is Michigan. And I understand that Michigan isn't the Michigan of old of just in the last couple of years, but you know that they've had our number. So, number one, I go to that game.
Yeah.
I think this year, with everything that's happened the past couple of years, obviously well documented, Ryan Day unable to get it done against Michigan. I think this is the year we start to really get our swagger back in this rivalry. I like what Ryan Day's done so far this year. I like the way he's approached things. I like the way that our defense is performing. And I think that that's a game right now that you've always got to have circled. And that's the first thing I think about. And then the other thing is going to be Penn State. Hey, listen, Franklin, I never have any confidence in him. You know, Drew Aller, we came into this year saying, hey, maybe the Browns would be looking at him as our quarterback.
Don't you put that to bed quite yet, Chris. Don't you put that to bed quite yet. They got a big game here tonight. I'm not extinguishing that quite yet.
Have you watched the Penn State game this year?
Chris, we know it's a loaded day of sports and you'll be front and center on your TV unless you have other plans. But, you know, I can't let you get out of here without giving us a score prediction for Ohio State and Washington.
Okay. And I'm glad you didn't ask me about the Ryder Cup because I didn't want to talk about the Ryder Cup today, boys. If that thing is ugly, it's gone from bad to ugly. I cannot believe what we've done this year. That Ryder Cup team, we need something. We need to completely.
Chris, why did Keegan Bradley not play?
Well, at this point, it sure seems like it would have been a better move, right? Nobody else seems to be performing. It's just.
Are the lights too bright because it's New York?
What's that?
Are the lights too bright because it's New York? Little Jared Allen action out there.
Is Scotty Scheffler washed?
We're not talking Cavs.
Well, here's the thing: is the goats like that, though. Scotty Scheffler, Tiger Woods, 1-7 in Ryder Cups. Like sometimes the top guys just don't show up in international play.
It's completely different, right? You see, the fans are different. The venue's different. You're playing, match play, and it's a different game every day. It's a completely different type of golf, and you've really got to interact with your partner very well, and you've got to have a team that's pretty cohesive. And right now, we are not cohesive at all. And you look at those Euros, they came into here, and they wanted to kick our ass. And guess what? They're doing it right now on our home turf, and that is very embarrassing. So Yeah, I'm glad you didn't ask me about it, but I felt I'd bring it up anyway. Buckeyes, though, let's go to the good side. Buckeyes are going to win today. I'm going to give us 38-21. We're going to cover. Go Bucks. I think it's going to be a good day for Ohio State football. I'm looking for that to lead in to what I should be a very nice night, as I think our Guardians are also going to clinch. And hey, who knows? Boston may just pull one out too and just complete the 3-leg parlay I'm looking for.
Well, Chris, we can't thank you enough for popping on the Big Factor here live at Lakewood Truck Park. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday afternoon, and we appreciate you hopping on, man.
Thanks, guys. Beautiful weather. Go Bucks.
Thanks, Chris.
Right.
Go Bucks.
We are still going here live from the Lakewood Truck Park at Lakewood. We have a ton to talk about still. Ohio State. We'll dive way more into that game as well as some of the other top-ranked matchups in college football this week and check in on some of the scores on the games going on right now. We're going to take a quick break, but when we get back, we're going to do all that and more. Hey, everybody, welcome back into the Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network, live from Lakewood Truck Park here in Lakewood, guys. It is a beautiful day. Kickoff a little under 30 minutes away for Ohio State Buckeyes. Still plenty of time to get down here to the Lakewood Truck Park. There's still plenty of seating open. The weather is beautiful. You could sit here all day and your eyeballs might not leave the TV screen once. This is such an incredible week of football, but we've got to talk about the big one for us, Ohio State, #1, traveling to Washington to take on the Huskies, who, by the way, unranked. A lot of people think they should be ranked. They didn't even receive a single vote to be in the AP poll top 25. A little bit surprising there. Ohio State, we mentioned over and over, 8.5-point favorites. Ohio State, they traveled to the Pacific Northwest, hoping to avoid a similar loss like they had last year at Oregon in the regular season. Ohio State, guys, this is defense versus offense right here. Ohio State, the #1 scoring defense through 3 games, allowed just 2 touchdowns and 1 field goal all season. Absolutely nuts what Matt Patricia has been able to do early in the season. Going against a Huskies team that ranks 2nd in the FBS with 55.7 points per game. That's like 5 Browns games, guys. Huskies, the one part about the Huskies, untested. Colorado State, UC Davis, and Washington State are the only teams that they've played this season to go to 3-0. But I mentioned this stat. It's massive. 22 consecutive wins for the Huskies at Husky Stadium, second to just Georgia in the FBS.
Well, Ryan, you just hit it there. Huskies are untested. So's Ohio State. You know, you beat Texas out the gate in Arch Manning's debut, and that defense was able to absolutely tee off on a young quarterback making his first start. But outside of that, you beat Grambling State. You beat up on OU in a game that was a lot, the score was a lot more favorable than what that game actually was. So you look at this today, and it is Ohio State's biggest test to date, even though they were matched up 1-2 against Texas there in week 1. I look at this, it's got to be the defense. And the defense definitely does have to travel because Washington's going to try to turn this into a shootout. They're going to try to turn it into a slugfest. They're going to want to make Jeremiah Smith and Julian Sayin beat them. All right, I like my chances in that, by the way, but I would love nothing more than for the defense to muck this one up early, make a lot of Husky punts should be what we should be after today if you're an Ohio State fan.
Now, I think Ohio State's defense, obviously, you know what you're getting from them. Yep. I'm looking for Ohio State's offense to finally take that big step this week. We've been talking about it. Chris touched on a lot of points, but really running back Bo Jackson, I'm looking for him to take over his RB1 here soon for the Buckeyes. He has been explosive. I think he's averaging close to 12 or 13 yards per carry. He's just been absolutely amazing in the backfield, working his way up from that third spot, looking for him to get a lot of carries. And once the Buckeyes get what's kind of been a stagnant ground game going so far, and you got to put those guys in the box, good luck covering Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate on the outside.
I'm going to throw a little not so fast, my friend, on you there,
Wow.
Rob. Not anti-Bo Jackson at all. That kid is a dog. Anyone who's watching this here has seen that.
Guy.
No? Okay, just wait till you hear what I say first. How about that? Maybe let me get some thought out. James Peoples came on the show last week,
Yes, he did.
has not played a game since he came on the Big Factor. We know that once guys go on the Big Factor, they start going off. That's just a fact. It's tried and true. It's been proven over and over again. He's going to be the new Ricky Rubio in Cleveland, the guy who comes off the bench out of nowhere, has a career renaissance. We all know that. James Peoples, if there was ever a day to get it going, today's the day. I think on the road, you're going to have to run the ball early with Julian Saint a quarterback. But, man, I don't know. Washington, while they have that win streak and while it's been good this year so far, they've been kind of shitty so far since they went to the Big Ten, to be honest with you. They have that big win over Michigan at home early last year. Besides that, they've done nothing. So I think they're like 6-7 since they joined the Big Ten, so nothing too special.
They believe. That's the other thing, though, is those fans believe. I mean, they were out sailgating. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Sailgating.
That's pretty cool.
Tailgate on the water in Seattle outside Husky Stadium. So that crowd was, raucous and out there this morning. Like, they believe. So that crowd is going to be locked in. That crowd's going to be ready to go. It is going to be a true road test for the Buckeyes. And really, nationally, if Ohio State, and I'm expecting them to go out there and get this win and dominate them, cover this spread, all that. If they do that, though, nationally, you should get a bit more respect. Even though Washington's unranked right now, like, you're going all the way across the country into a hostile environment, looking to snap a streak of wins that they've had going for multiple consecutive seasons. Like, Buckeyes should deserve some more national love if they're able to get the job done like I believe that they're going to be able to today.
That's something they do a lot, too, because all week you've been seeing pundits build up Washington, but now say Ohio State comes in and dominates, they'll be talking like, oh, well, we shouldn't have expected that from
Right.
them. And Nick, I think that raucous crowd could play a factor unless Ohio State gets to it right away. That is a major key of the game. They got to extinguish all that hope as immediately as possible, because the longer you let them stay in the game, as you saw in Virginia last night, and that crowd keeps building, it's hard to get that momentum to go down.
One sign of the respect towards Washington, look no further than the spread. Opened at 13.5, down as we're 30 minutes away from game day, if I'm not mistaken, still on FanDuel Sportsbook. 8.5. That's it. A little over a touchdown. We talked about the 22-game home win streak for the Huskies. Impressive. Equally as impressive, Ryan Day. Ohio State coach Ryan Day excels in games coming off of the bye, guys. In contests with at least 8 days of game plan since 2019, they averaged 33.9 points per game differential. Not points per game differential. Days 48-0 against Big Ten opponents not named Michigan or Oregon. Yes, that's cherry picking. I get it. Ohio State has won 13 straight Big Ten openers. Last loss for them came in 2011.
And I believe Day's undefeated out of the bye as well, which is the most important thing today.
There's also one, as an outsider looking in, I'm not an Ohio State fan, so I get to watch the anxiety for Buckeyes fans every single week externally, right? There's a game every single year that is early in the year when Ohio State hasn't been tested. It's telling you the people try and like amp themselves up, get excited for like this is a big game feel. Usually it's like a Michigan State or an Iowa or a Wisconsin, but there's a team in the Big Ten who it's like, oh, they got to a 3-4-0 start. Like, oh, it's going to be Nebraska last year. Also going to be a really good game. Shit kick. It happens every single time. I think it's going to happen today. I think Ohio State wins big.
Well, for Ohio State, it all starts with quarterback Julian Saint, obviously the transfer from Alabama. Relatively untested, you mentioned, Nick. Yes, defense from Texas week 1, that's no joke. Didn't ask Julian Saint to do much.
Right.
That might not be the case this game. Should the Buckeyes find themselves a little bit snagged in on offense or go down early, you might have to open up that playbook for Julian Saint. But all things considered, through the sample size that we have, he's been tremendous. 78.9% completion percentage, 779 yards, 56 completions for 71 attempts, 8 pass touchdowns, 3 picks, which you don't love. A couple of those were wishy-washy against teams that you're blowing out, but it remains the same. For Julian Saint, if you're Ryan Day traveling on the road, are you willing to, at some point, even if you have to, you're going to have to probably at some point, if they don't run away with it, open up that playbook, let Julian Saint throw the ball downfield, see Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate break coverages, and let them do the rest of the work?
I think so, man. I think he's showed you enough in those 3 games that it proves like, okay, you could take the kid gloves off a little bit. You could open up this thing a little bit. You don't have to keep the training wheels on Julian Sayin forever. He's not that type of quarterback. People forget, I feel like nationally, this was a dude that was fully prepared to be an Alabama Crimson Tide before Nick Saban walked away. Like, he's of that ilk, he's of that pedigree. So go out there today and see what he could do, especially if you get a little bit of a lead on Washington. Let him take some shots. See if he could find Jeremiah Smith downfield. See if you could get Carnell Tate involved. Like, I definitely look for him to do a little bit more in this game than he's had to do, because quite frankly, like, in that Texas game, the defense was just that good and Arch Manning couldn't do anything. And then, let's be honest, like Grambling State and OU, he was completely untested. So I would like to see what he could do against an actual Big Ten opponent today.
I believe we're going to see, and this is somewhere where I think Ryan Day has improved completely as a coach. Ever since last year's loss to Michigan, where you saw Ohio State forcing themselves, thinking that we needed to win the game in the trenches, when clearly they could have beat Michigan on the outsides. He talked about it after the Texas game. He said, we could have taken the gloves off of Julian a little bit more. We could have done more, but we're just going to do what we know we need to do to win. So regardless of what that looks like, you're going to see it today. But I know Julian's proven that his accuracy as a quarterback is one of the best we've seen in a while from Ohio State. And honestly, he doesn't have to press and do too much when you have such weapons out there. Max Clare has been an amazing pickup as a tight end. You already know about Jeremiah Smith. You already know about Carnell Tate. You got Brandon Innes in the slot. You got a veteran offensive line ready to help him out. It's not that he has to go out there and be Superman. He's just got to deliver the ball, make the simple plays, and not get in any trouble on turnovers. And I think he will be continuing to keep his name in that Heisman race. His odds have been going up slowly, and if he can keep doing that throughout the year on the best team in the country, he'll be there when the year's over.
Rob, you mentioned the Heisman odds. If you guys want to pull out the phone, check the old FanDuel Sportsbook, Jeremiah Smith finds himself
second best odds,
all the way at the top now. I mean, because it's been such a bad year for the quarterbacks. Like, QBs have all been so bad. Think like Arch Manning was the odds-on favorite. Okay, now he's not even a top 15 candidate for the Heisman. Cade Klubnik turned into a pumpkin. Garrett Nussmeier
that was my fault. By the way, can I take full credit for that?
Very
Cade Klubnik, if you're
so
listening, I owe you like a lot of money.
We hated on my draft. Dante Moore is cooking.
Yes,
he's up there.
And Jeremiah Smith he's got a shot. It's a long shot, sure, but Travis Hunter showed a path last year that if you could be dominant as a non-quarterback, you could still find a way to win the Heisman.
The John Mateer injury certainly threw a wrench in those plans. We'll get to another quarterback for Oregon, who right now may be the Heisman favorite. But first, we got to stay in the Ohio State game, I should say. Well, the Huskies got a quarterback on their sideline by the name of DeMond Williams Jr., who has been tremendous this year, the first-year starting quarterback through 3 games, posting a 0.89 EPA per play. That's third best among all FBS quarterbacks that have played at least 100 snaps. Obviously, I mentioned who they played through the first 3 games of the season. This is certainly a new test for Williams going against the Matt Patricia-led defense. But the thing about him is he can get it done with his arm, but he can equally get it done with his legs. 51 carries, 347 yards, averaging 6.8 yards a carry on the young season, and a nation-leading 9 touchdowns. A smaller guy, just 5'9", 228 pounds. This is probably, outside of Arch, and that's week 1, a quarterback that you weren't unsure of, the biggest test for the Ohio State Buckeyes this season.
Ryan Day threw out the Kyler Murray comp this week.
He's one of those guys, man.
I was going to say in general, though, like you look at that Washington team last year when they brought in, I believe it was Will Rogers to be the starting quarterback, and he kind of flounders. Then Williams takes over more in the second half of the year. He's a lot in that, like, Maeva school of thought of, like, or Marcel Reed as well. Like, okay, you come in, you have the big second half of the year. Can you go do it next year as the actual starting quarterback when you have the hype around you, when there's the film on you? This is a huge test for him today because, it's nice to have 8 touchdowns and no turnovers when you're playing the Sisters of the Poor in a Washington State without John Mateer, but it's another thing to do now.
He's one of those guys, man. When I was playing the game last year, we talk about college football being back. You want to pick up a guy like him. You go run around and all that, but it always gets to that point where you play that team that's about 10 overalls higher than you, and all of a sudden those edge rushers aren't falling for the little loop-de-loops in the backfield. So, I mean, it up to him. If he proves something today, then he'll be up there as a guy that people are talking about for the season, is one of those dual-threat guys that's carrying his team. But he's got a huge test today, and I don't know if he's ready to pass it.
Well, alongside with DeMond Williams, the other name to know on offense for the Huskies is running back Jonah Coleman, ranked 2nd in FBS this season with 165.7 scrimmage yards per game, leads the nation with 10 total touchdowns. I read a lot of crazy stats today, guys. This one might take the cake. Jonah Coleman joins an elite group of FBS players since 2000 to reach 150-plus scrimmage yards per game with at least 10 touchdowns through 3 contests. The other players, Chester Taylor, Toledo, 2001. Muhammad Ibrahim, Minnesota 2020. And everybody will know these other two names. Lamar Jackson, Louisville 2016. And Jonathan Taylor, Wisconsin 2019.
Those guys worked out okay.
I mean, that's what they're going to try to do today. Like, disclaimer, they're going to try to run the football on you. This Ohio State Buckeyes defense is the closest thing that you're going to find to an NFL defense in college football, and that doesn't bode very well for a 5'9" quarterback. It just doesn't. You can't get away with a lot of the gimmicks that they pull offensively because your quarterback is physically limited. So they're going to look early in this game to run the ball right at that Ohio State front. And it's up to the Buckeyes and Matt Patricia to stop that. It's up to them to make the quarterback beat him with their arm in the pocket. Because if you could take away this rushing attack, Ohio State's going to have a good chance of making this a lopsided affair today.
The one thing to watch for Washington, their defense, make no mistake about it, they will blitz Julian Sain.
Yep.
Washington's defensive line coming off one of its most effective pass rushing games last week against Washington State. 11 different Huskies recorded pressures during that game. 5 tallied multiple pressures. Julian Sain has been pressured on only 17% of his drops back this season, completing 7 to 12 for 87 yards, a touchdown, and throwing a pick. So not to say Julian Sain won't be able to handle the pressure, just perhaps this will be the most prominent instance of pressure against Sain on the young season.
And I think that, like, when you're a team like Ohio State and you have so many reliable weapons that you trust, you can deal with a little bit of pressure here and there because you know you've got pass-catching backs like James Peoples, like Bo Jackson. You've got guys that you can trust in that check-down game. Even Jeremiah Smith, if you've got to dump it down to him, and that's a big play ability guy right there. If you get his you have the football in his hands in open field, look out. He could be heading 90 yards the other direction. So you could deal with a little bit of pressure today if you're Ohio State because you've got more horsepower in this race than Washington does.
All right, well, we are about 10 minutes away from kickoff, guys. We have a slate of just absolute potential barn burners. Texas A&M, Auburn, Penn State, Oregon's of course up there amongst another group of games. Let's take a quick break. When we get back, we'll wrap up this thing, and well, we'll end on giving our Ohio State score predictions. Hey everybody, welcome back into the Big Factor on the Big Play Sports Network. We are live at the Lakewood Truck Park in Lakewood. The sun is out. I don't think you could have asked for more of a beautiful day. We're over here sweating. I'm sweating here in my quarters.
Working on a tan, man.
But Lakewood Truck Park, I mean, we've been here so many times now. We were here last year for the Guardians games. Just an incredible atmosphere. It's fun. It's mixed crowd, which I think is one of the most underrated things. There's kids and there's older people. Like, it's such a beautiful place to come together and watch sports. Tons of TVs. I highly recommend it. Plenty of time to get down for these games.
I think we're running it back
here
too.
At Lakewood
little
Truck Park.
Brown Steelers action.
Yeah,
with
we've got
the Land Boys later this month.
Nah, that's tough.
We've got a few shows scheduled at the Lakewood Truck Park. This is just the beginning, so we really appreciate them having us out here. Just really happy to be here. All right, guys, let's go into some of the other games in this amazing slate of college football week 5. We start here. Auburn, unranked, by the way, but they were basically the ranked 26, 122 votes in the AP poll, but still considered unranked. They traveled to College Station to take on Texas A&M, number 9 team in the country, in Kyle Field, arguably the hardest place to play on the road for teams in FBS. Texas A&M opens this one a 6.5-point favorite. Of course, Jack, I don't need to.
Jack, what say you?
I don't need to jump in.
You know what?
to
Yeah.
Texas A&M.
Here's where we'll start. Actually,
Okay.
is all three of you saying that Notre Dame would not win by 4.5 points today, and they won by 30. That's where we'll
I
start.
took Notre Dame spread.
On the Irish, they are back. They are fine. Jeremiah Love jumping up those Heisman odds this morning. If you looked after that 4 touchdown performance.
Nah, he tough.
Not taking it from you, Rob.
tough,
A&M's
big
going to win this one, though. They got an awesome offense. Marcel Reed is the real deal. Mike Elko's a great head coach. And, yeah, I think they have the weapons like KC Concepcion on the outside to get it done.
Aggies offense just 1 of 9 in the entire country, averaging more than 300 passing yards per game and 150 rushing yards per game. Jack, you know that very well, unfortunately, for you Notre Dame fans. Explosive plays, that's the name of the game for Texas A&M. 22 plays of 20-plus yards through the first 3 games. Obviously, Marcel Reed responsible for that, but also Mario Craver. 20 receptions, 443 yards, 4 touchdowns on the year. A smaller guy, 5'8", 165. Jack versus Notre Dame reeled in 7 catches, 207 yards, and a touchdown in that
Couldn't
victory.
push him out of bounds.
Damn.
But I guess I'll start. I will take Texas A&M to not only win, take them to cover. They're entering that echelon of the SEC for potential contention. This is a big step, beating a team at home that you should take care of with no problem.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Ryan. Give me A&M to cover. I think they proved, Jack did make a point, like Notre Dame won by 30 today, and Texas A&M handled them. I think that speaks to just how good A&M is, so I'll take the Aggies to cover as well.
I think that'll be a clean sweep for us. I'm going Texas A&M as well.
Auburn, they have not logged a win against a top 10 team on the road since beating Ole Miss, who was ranked number 7 in November of 2014. But it's not only that, Auburn has not defeated a top 10 team at all since beating Ole Miss back in 2021 when they were ranked number 10 in October. All right, guys, we move on. A great game. LSU, number 4, travels to Ole Miss to take on the number 13 Runnin' Rebels. 2.5-point favorites. A little bit surprising here. Ole Miss opens as the favorite. Obviously, LSU a higher ranked. They've been a little more tested. I shouldn't say a lot more tested than Ole Miss has to this season. I understand it's home at Ole Miss. The last couple of games have been complete barn burners between these teams. I suppose they're expecting that again. For Ole Miss, it's Division II transfer Trinidad Chambliss, who comes onto the scene for Ole Miss at quarterback amidst the injury to Austin Simmons. Tigers, they played the road. Clemson week 1, they won that game. Clemson kind of fallen off. Just a complete team, more so defensively. Offense, they haven't shown anything crazy. Garrett Nussmeier hasn't really done much to impress, to be honest with you, to warrant at least that first-round pick expectation that he had going into the season. But Brian Kelly needs to get this win, Jack, and I know you don't want to see that happen.
I think we're doing this whole thing where Notre Dame lost the national championship to Ohio State last year. The Guardians are going to get knocked out early, and then Brian Kelly's going to the national championship. I'm never going to watch sports again because that's just the way the schedule's breaking. It seems nice knowing you guys.
I think the Tigers get it done today. Ole Miss, good team, but I'm not buying it. I think the Tigers are the real deal so far this year, and we're going to see some big matchups for them down the line.
I do think they found something with their new quarterback, though. I do think Ole Miss found something with Trinidad. I just think LSU is the more rounded team. I think they're the more complete team. I think they've had bigger tests to date than Ole Miss, so I'm with Rob. I'm taking the underdog. Give me LSU.
Ole Miss just completely untested. They've played against a bad defense. I understand you're undefeated, but still a little puzzling. They're the favorite in that game. We talked about this at length, so we don't have to, but the big storyline of this game, Lane Kiffin, head coach of Ole Miss, his daughter, Landry Kiffin, is actually dating star linebacker for LSU, Whit Weeks. So a little bit of, I guess, conflict of interest for his daughter, if you will.
If Ole Miss wins this game, I think Lane Kiffin hops into Coach of the Year conversation for setting us all up.
I love that. All right, let's go to this one. Great game. Alabama, number 17, travels to Athens to take on number 5, Georgia. Georgia coming off an insane comeback win in Tennessee to disrupt the Tennessee Rocky Top faithful. Believe it or not, when I read this, I can't believe how this is true. This is a pretty rare trip for Alabama to travel to Athens. Last time that these two teams played on Georgia's home field, back in 2015.
Wow.
Quite a while, 10 years, a decade since they've done that. Alabama has had the better of Georgia the past decade.
The Crimson Tide has been Kirby Smart's one kryptonite since he's taken over for Georgia. Ty Simpson seems like the real deal. I'll take Bama. Give me roll, Tide, roll.
I like it too because I think Georgia's had 2 big games so far this year. I think you could argue that they didn't play very well in either of them, but came back on late to get the dub. I like the same thing. I think Bama's going to do it. I mean, Kalen DeBoer is also at the point where I know it's starting to ease back off a little bit. No one's on the hot seat watch anymore, but you don't want to lose too many games. You're going to get run out of Tuscaloosa real quick.
Yeah, well, they won't be today. Give me the Bulldogs. They're going to handle home field. I mean, that is, not the place you want to play. Jalen Milroe having a crazy game last year with Ryan Williams, but not in the cards this year. Bulldogs are going to.
I will take the Bulldogs as well. Ty Simpson's passing stats have actually been tremendous outside of week 1 against Florida State, but that's your only real test to this season. You're traveling on the road to Athens. The SEC still runs through Georgia, in my opinion. And Gunnar Stockton can get it done both ways with his arm and his legs. I don't see Kalen DeBoer's team, the effort that I saw them give week 1, and I know it's been a damn near month since that, but you can't have any of that traveling into Athens if you want a chance to beat Kirby Smart and the Bulldogs. All right, guys, what do you say we end it here, the last game on this slate, maybe the biggest one of all, at least in terms of ranked opponents. Oregon, number 6. We actually had one first-place vote for number 1 team in the AP poll. They travel to Penn State to take on the number 3 Nittany Lions. Penn State, 5 first-place votes for them. Lions, 3.5 points favorites in this game. I have to start with this fact that everybody knows something about James Franklin, the monkey. He can't get off his back, his big games. Just 2-20 against AP top 6 opponents. Damn. Second worst mark by any FBS coach in history.
Oh my God.
Penn State's dropped 14 straight against top 6 foes. Their last win, cover your ears, Buckeyes fans, coming in 2016 against Ohio State. That's when they had Saquon Barkley, of course. Franklin 4-20 against AP top 10 teams as Penn State's head coach.
I mean, if he's ever going to get it done, right?
Give me Penn State. It's going to be today. It's Drew. He finally has his quarterback who's been tested. Give me Drew Aller getting it done on the big stage for James Franklin tonight. I got the Nittany Lions taking down Oregon.
Well, here's the thing with that, Nick. Drew Aller in big games, not so good.
So good.
1-5 in starts against top 10 teams since 2023. Stats in those games don't speak highly either. A combined 49.4 possession completion rate. That's horrible.
Oh.
Topping 200 yards passing just one time. He's thrown for fewer than 150 yards in 3 of those games. And at the beginning of the season, we're yet to see Aller throw for a big mark, like at 300 yards, against teams that certainly have worse defense than Oregon. Now, maybe they didn't have to open up the playbook as much, but the stats I just read, Drew Aller needs to change this narrative.
Yeah.
If he wants to be a first-round draft pick, this is a game at home that you have to win and beat Oregon. This is a must-win for Penn State, in my opinion. Make no bones about it.
But I think I'm going to keep being Mr. Contrarian today, guys. You know, everyone looked at me a little crazy on that Dante Moore Heisman
I'm
pick,
taking Oregon.
But I saw the vision, and that young man can play. And Oregon knows no scares for the big games with Dan Lanning at head coach. And I just think the better coach and the better quarterback are going to take it home tonight, and Oregon is going to upset Penn State.
I agree completely. I think Oregon wins this game until I see James Franklin win a big game. I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to bet on that to happen. I'll take a field goal and a half. If I'm just betting, I'll take Oregon to cover the spread. I'd even sprinkle on them to obviously win the game. But until I see proof of concept, James Franklin win a big game, I will refuse to bet it. And Dante Moore, you mentioned, is, by the way, the real deal. Herb Street this morning called him the Heisman favorite after John Mateer went down with his thumb injury. All right, guys, we'll end it here with Ohio State versus Washington score predictions. Does anybody want to go first?
Shoot, I got y'all. Ohio State 38, Washington 17. Buckeyes get it done.
Buckeyes 30, Washington 10.
I'll go Buckeyes 35. I do think Washington's offense poses enough of a challenge for them to score maybe a backdoor cover. I'll go Buckeyes 35, Washington 28.
Ohio State 38, Washington 13, and it's a last-second field goal, too. Like a last-second 13.
They're about to get out there and get after it for sure.
Like a little Seattle smelling salt, go kick it out to end the game. Yeah.
All right, appreciate everybody tuning into the Big Factor. Absolutely blessed to be out here at the Lakewood Truck Park in Lakewood. It's a beautiful day. Games are just getting started. 3:30 kickoff for the Buckeyes. We went through all the games later this week. One of the best college football slates we've seen in a while. Only one so far as compared to week 1. But again, Lakewood Truck Park come out. The crowd is so diverse, from age, older people to the younger people, even kids. So many TVs. The food is phenomenal here. The service is great. The people are all friendly. Come on down to Lakewood Truck Park if you're not doing anything, and enjoy your Saturday. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll be back Monday, back in our usual studio. Same people, same time. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Enjoy college football, and for you Buckeyes.